Welcome back. We're going to take you to Luthuli House now, where our Aldrin Sampier is standing by with Fikile Mbalula for an interview on that briefing that was just held at Luthuli House. Let's take you to Aldrin Sampier. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Natasha. Standing by and sitting here with the former police minister, who's just went through an entire list of the previous positions that he's held, but more importantly, the position that he holds now. Let me just quickly firstly ask you, former minister, how does this happen? Does the president call you and the president says, hey, Fikile, this is what I've decided?
In my case now, normally that's what the president will do. With the reshuffle and the appointment, and they will be sitting there with the Secretary General of the ANC. It happened with the former Secretary General Kwete, and with Isma Khajule I got redeployed. So with what happened now, I was called in by the president, who conveyed the decision of the officials to request me in all modesty to come to Luthuli House and to head elections, not part-time, full-time. So I was informed on Sunday about it, and the only implication was that if it is announced alongside others, it would have meant effectively president as a reshuffled cabinet in the NEC, which they had to redo that in their planning strategy with regard to the media, to announce it after the president announced his cabinet. So I knew by Sunday that I'm at Luthuli House and I'm gone as a minister.
And how does this make you feel? Of course, they say that normally as an ANC cadre, when you are deployed or when you even recalled for that matter, you don't ask questions.
Yeah, you don't ask questions. I mean, it's not like I was ready to move, but when I was requested by the movement, and in particular the officials, and it's a decision of the officials and the ANC. I mean, we are here for the ANC, and it is the ANC that took us to where we were. And if we are asked to undertake difficult missions, it happened throughout the period of struggle that you'll be deployed in the front with regard to military to do particular tasks. And then it happened in the new dispensation, you'll be deployed in government to do dangerous missions. Lead the police, for instance. It's not a child's play. Look at my hair, it's like I'm 70 years old. It's because of the thinking, the energy, and at the same time, lots and loads of information that comes through with that, and we have to handle that carefully and take decisions. So I take it, if you are a cadre of the ANC, you are an activist, you prepare yourself for all this so that you are not, you don't have shocks in your system. You've got shock absorbers. You develop shock absorbers so that you are able to, when you are told about this sort of things, you are ready throughout in your system to accept and move on.
And how difficult was the task being police minister?
It was difficult. I like challenges. So that's why I enjoy the police. It is not easy. We're dealing with people's lives. People feel unsafe. Women have been raped. And it all falls on the police. Police are blamed for all sorts of things. We need to change perceptions. And over, we had to plan for a 72-hour takedown. And we fiddle with dangerous criminals, including syndicates, and all of that. But at the same time, we legislate to ensure that there is an environment in which we police, the people and the republic. And secret information and intelligence part of it in terms of this work. So it's very, very, very difficult, but I enjoy it because I like challenges. I love sports because sports, nobody took sports seriously. And when I went to sports, I remember Julia said to me, hey, about 10 lazy, man, about fast sports. Now you have to chase a netball and all of that. I said, no way, Julius. This is fine, I'll do it. It's not about getting late. So I think many people say I did well. I put my heart into it, energy, because I wanted to change things. But we didn't have a budget, and I still believe that One day, when I become president, I'm going to shock everybody.
President of the country?
Yeah, president of the country.
Fikile Mbalula would be president of South Africa?
One day, never say never. So one day, if I'm president of the country, I will invest loads of money into sports. Because I think it contributes to changing the social fiber. And we've never had an opportunity where people see it that way. At least 5 billion to sports, to me, it will do. Support federations, give them loads of money to go and win medals for us, you know. I think it's one department that, if you talk about nation building, you talk about changing the lives of people, social fiber, intervene in the RDP of the soul, give young people a sense of purpose and compete, you know, and make this great country of ours great, irrespective of color. It's one area where in which we need to invest. So that when we talk transformation in rugby, cricket, you are able to say, I put money there, transform. I want the kids from Soweto, from Tanzania, in the rural areas to play for the national rugby team because we have put money to develop them in those particular areas. It's not skilled. Way in which development only comes through the formal model C schools, etc., etc. I loved sports.
Speaking about Julius Malema, the EFF leader, he was quite aggrieved by the decision that has been taken by the President Ramaphosa, to take you out of the cabinet, way out of the cabinet. He says that he's put through a call to you even to convey how angry he was at this decision that has been taken. He believes that you are quite a hard worker, and he believes that you should have been retained in cabinet.
Yeah, I think Julius, you can find fault of him in many things, but at least it's not fake. He can tell you things that he doesn't like. He attacks me a lot. He tells me what I don't like sometimes. People don't know. He used to tell me these things when we were still in the youth league and great buddies and friends. I mean, tight like nobody's business. He will tell me things that he will drop things to me, and my ears and my mind will not basically be ready to take it. I mean, Julius is one person who said Marx is no longer taking politics seriously. He's in this sports thing, he's a celebrity, he's competing with celebrities. He's no longer a politician. I think this man is demoralized. And then when I went to the police, and then he said, let's see what he can do. But in his book, he said that at that time. So who will ever say something like that about you personally, except Malema, you know? I've learned to listen to him in a measured way, and then not to respond to everything he says, and then absorb it and look at myself in the mirror and say, isn't it true? Maybe the perception is growing that I no longer take politics seriously. I'm not the Fikile Mbalula who people know in the ANC, an activist, not a rabble-rouser, but somebody who's very clear about where he stands about issues. You better be guillotined in life for having said something, you know, rather than where people don't know what you stand for. They just look at you all the time. You agree with this one, you agree with this one. You don't have a view. And I'm that kind of a person that I formulate a view and I articulate it and so on. But Julius, to me, is not fake or plastic. I think he's that kind of guy who tells you things, whether you like it or agree with him, he will put it out there.
Yeah. Let's speak about this role now that you take on permanently. Of course, it's something that you have experience in. It's something that you've done before. As head of election, can you just make the distinction? Is it head of the election campaigning for the party, or is it head of the election also with internal elections of the party?
No. It's campaigning, broader elections of election campaign, head of election campaign. In terms of the election infrastructure of the ANC. I'm in charge of that. It means under me, we will still appoint other people to be full-time for this duration of the election, but for me, I'm permanent. It's me who's got to steer things, set up the machinery of the election, and then work with everybody, including the NEC, to map the strategy, and then to look at the question of the research, which out of it will inform our strategy going forward, but set up the machinery. And in the strategy with a clear defined goal of where we are going. The ANC is not striving for 2/3 majority, striving for decisive victory, overwhelming victory. If that victory comes to be 2/3, it will be bonus to our work. So to achieve that goal, You've got to then define the strategy. You then have got to define the content, and form of the work that you are basically going to undertake. So my job here is to basically ensure that the ANC emerge together with everybody victorious in 2019 elections.
Let's speak about the funding for this campaign, because of course with elections there's a lot of money that's needed. Do you think that the ANC is in a position where it has enough funds to ensure that the campaigning is funded?
Yes, that's why we've got a Treasurer General who's supposed to get money, supported by all the other officials and members of the ANC to get money for the elections. I'm sure that an election campaign is not run from the boot of a car. It's run from an office with clear infrastructure. And to do all the things that we're going to do, we will need money. And quite clearly, the ANC is ready for that. The TG is already planning for that. I've got to give him the budget. I've got to give him the budget.
Is the budget drawn up already?
We're going to draw up the budget, and then we'll give him the budget, and then...
How many millions?
Of course, elections campaigns are expensive, but I want to run a less expensive campaign because I want a people-centered campaign driven. At the heart of that campaign, it should be ANC, claiming its own victories and at the same time demonstrating that to the public, combining with the role of us being a ruling party and doing work to change the lives of the people for the better. And claiming those victories going forward, build on the positive mood in the country.
I was actually going to ask you about that, considering the positive mood of the country and of course the election results coming out of the two by-elections in Mahikeng as well as in Soweto Protea 10. Do you think your job this time around might be much easier in terms of campaigning, riding on the wave of optimism that the country is currently experiencing?
It is not easy because you've got a democracy in action. You've got opponents who are lined up, who are going to undermine whatever that is in favor of the ANC in positive way because they want votes. So it's never easy. It's not going to be easy. And we need to lure new voters into the system, as you will know next week already. The IEC from the 10th to the 11th, we need to mobilize our support base and the potential supporters to register to vote and be ready to vote the African National Congress.
And actually pitch up to vote, because this was another thing in 2016, people not pitching up to vote.
There are all sorts of factors of people, why didn't they pitch up to vote? Probably the mood was not right. We've got our own research that tells us why the non-pitch of people to the voting stations. But as a party that if you have an election machinery, you've got to excite, you've got to surprise, you've got to ignite passion. You at the same time have got to bring people to the polling station, because the last day is what is important. The battles that we're going to fight now must lead to us winning the war, and that is the last day of the election.
Would you then be also having conversation with your colleagues to say, please stay out of controversies because you're making our jobs even harder?
The ANC leadership will have to be decisive on that. I'm going to push them hard on those particular issues. And even those who blah, blah, blah all over the place, we need one message, many voices. I'm going to be sitting in the NWC, briefing the officials all the time. I'm full-time at Luthuli House. We're going to rain on the chaos. We're going to rain on those who simply open their mouth and basically misinterpret ANC policy. People must stay on the message. Once we decide on the message, we must stay on the message, which is our manifesto. We don't need superstars here. We need a campaign. We need an organization. I'm going to ensure, working with my collective, that we run a disciplined, tight, focused campaign.
Are you at all scared by the opposition?
Well, I'm scared of our people, not the opposition. I'm scared of our people because taking our people for granted and misinterpreting of what they want will cost you the vote. I need to understand where our people are, what are our achievements, what they want, and then what is our messaging. In this campaign, I'm scared of taking people for granted. This is a democracy. And I think I need the most humble campaign, because I don't want people to say no because it's 2/3 majority. It's as though you think that this South Africa belongs to the ANC. It doesn't belong to us. All what we do, we ask for a mandate to change the lives of the people for the better and bring about a better life for all. We need to stay true to that. So for what the ANC have done in the past years in achieving and bring about that better life, we say to our people that struggle continues. So give us the mandate. We're asking for a mandate to continue with that.
Many analysts, post-2016, after the 2016 results, thought that or believed and analyzed and said that in 2019 the ANC would lose Gauteng. It will end up being in the hands of the opposition. What's your message now, considering the mood of the country and considering the job that you've given yourself?
It is possible that the ANC can lose any other province, including Gauteng. The question is what informs that? That the ANC can lose, but we are not going to be working for lose. We need to look at the factors that inform this argument that will lose Gauteng on which basis, when the ANC have done so much. So we need to examine that and not undermine other research that may come from other quarters. We need to look at that closely. I mean, we were told before the election by other research groups that we're going to lose Gauteng, Tshwane, and Port Elizabeth. We don't have to sit in the corner and argue with this research. We must look at what informs that and how are we going to react to ensure that the ANC does not lose a single province.
And the possibility of working with the opposition in a coalition?
The question of coalitions, I don't see them in this election. Coalitions exist, that possibility. If ever, the ANC will drop the percentages, probably below 50. So you then have to think about coalition. I don't think the ANC will be working to drop below 50 in this coming election.
But if it happens, is the ANC open to that?
If that actually happens, the ANC has always been, and that is what informed even our engagement with all other political parties that we thought when we lost the metros on the question of coalitions. Should coalitions arise, the ANC will obviously engage with political parties on the possibility of working together.
Former Minister Fikile Mbalula, who's now the ANC's head of election campaigning on a full-time basis here at Luthuli House. Thank you much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it. Quite a momentous task that he faces ahead of the 2019 elections. And of course, the other opposition parties are also gearing up for those elections, and campaigning unofficially starts when the IEC says registration starts this weekend. It's back to you in studio.